What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. So today I'm bringing to you an Orcust combo tutorial. Now, the last video I showed you guys my Orcust deck profile just to give you guys a little bit of a baseline as to what you can expect from the competitive Orcust strategy. But today we're going to be doing a basic combo tutorial covering 3 key essential combos that you're either going to want to know as an Orcust player, or if you're going up against the deck, you're going to want to know at what points you can disrupt them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so for combo number 1, you're just going to want to have any way to get to 2 monsters. So that can either be 2 monsters individually. Neo Space Connector is the example I'm going to use here because it's 1 card but gets us to 2 monsters, and that way it just becomes a 2-card combo because we just need him and a discard. And this is going to be your bread and butter Orcust combo that you're going to want to know, so definitely keep this in mind. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to start by normal summoning Neo Space Connector using its effect, and we're going to grab out a copy of our Aqua Dolphin, if I can find it. There we go. So Aqua Dolphin is going to go ahead and hit the field, and then what we're going to do is from there is we're going to go ahead and link these 2 off. Now, do keep in mind, if you were playing a normal game, you'd be wanting to use Aqua Dolphin's effect to go ahead and rip a hand trap out of our opponent's hand, but just for the purposes of this, I'm trying to keep it simple, but do keep in mind that Aqua Dolphin's effect is absolutely crazy. So we're going to go ahead and link off into Nightmare Cerberus. Now, depending on the matchup is going to just determine what you want to go off into for your first Nightmare, because if your opponent's playing like a very spell and trap like back row heavy deck, you're going to probably want to save Nightmare Phoenix for later, so you're going to want to use Nightmare Cerberus and vice versa, just depending on what kind of deck you're playing. So do keep that in mind when you do your initial combo if you happen to know what deck you're going up against. So here we're just going to go ahead and use Cerberus, and we're going to link that off for a copy of Nightmare Mermaid. Now what we're going to do is here, we're going to use Mermaid's effect, we're going to discard our blank, which is just a copy of Twin Twister, and we're going to go ahead and grab Orcust Nightmare from our deck. We're going to link off the Mermaid and the Nightmare, and that's going to get us into our first copy of Galatea. Now what we're going to do is here, we're going to banish the Orcust Nightmare and use it to target our Galatea and send a copy of Harp Horror from our deck to the graveyard. Do remember that Nightmare actually does boost the attack power. It doesn't come up very often, but it could, even though 99% of the time we just want to use Nightmare to send Harp to the grave. Now we're going to banish the Harp, which will allow us to special summon a copy of Symbol Skeleton from our deck. From here, we can go ahead and link off the Galatea and the Orcust Symbol Skeleton to make our Rusty Bardich. Now, I see a lot of people immediately shotgun the Rusty Bardich and start going off here, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this a little bit differently to make it a bit more safe. So instead of using him, we're actually going to banish the Symbol Skeleton and resummon our Galatea. You always want to make sure Galatea is pointing towards something so that it's linked, so that way it can't be destroyed by battle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and overlay into our copy of Dingirsu. Now we're going to use our copy of Rusty, and why I wanted to wait till now is because let's say our opponent has a copy of Ghost Ogre. Now you're actually protected with the Dingirsu with its passive ability in case this would get destroyed in some form or another. So now it's a lot safer. Actually, before I do that, Dingirsu, when it's summoned, you actually want to go ahead and reattach the Symbol Skeleton from the banished pile underneath it. Don't forget that, because that's very important for just keeping the engine going. So now that we did that, now we can use Rusty's effect. We're going to go ahead and send a copy of Ancient Cloak to the graveyard, and we're going to set a copy of Fogblade into our back row. And I'll just go ahead and keep that face up so you guys can see. From here, we can go ahead and banish the Ancient Cloak to get a copy of Silent Boots, which we can then special summon. And now we can go ahead and link off the Boots as well as the Dingirsu to make our second copy of Galatea. Now, here's where we can use Galatea's effect safely, because if we used it on the first time, if it were to get disrupted in any way, that could potentially just kind of hinder our plays a lot. So now we can use our second Galatea's effect. We're going to reshuffle the Orcust Nightmare back into our deck, and that's going to go ahead and allow us to get the field spell Orchestrated Babble. So we're going to go ahead and activate that. Now we can also banish the copy of Silent Boots from the graveyard to grab our second copy of Fogblade from our deck and set it. So that's actually going to do it for the first combo here, and this ends on 4 total disruptions. We generated 3 cards in card advantage going +3, and we ended on 2 Fogblades, so that's 2 monster negations, and because of Babel, we can use our opponent's, or excuse me, we can use our card effects of our Orcust monsters during our opponent's turn. So we can go ahead and banish Symbol Skeleton to resurrect the Dingirsu. This will then form a chain, which then allows you to pop 2 cards cards, it would pop one with Bardich and then send one with Dingirsu. And don't forget Galatea, you can shuffle something back and you can actually grab your Orchestrated Crescendo to go ahead and protect your plays during your next turn. So this is just how the deck snowballs, and this is going to be the combo you're always going to want to go into at the very least. All right, so for combo number 2, we're going to kind of do the same thing, but we're going to change things up a bit. So as you can see here, we actually have a third card we're introducing. Now, I'm using Trickstar Korribane here, but this can be any extender. This can be a danger monster, this can be an instant fusion target, just any way to get another monster onto the board is how we're going to do this next combo. It's going to look very similar, but towards the end, it's going to change things up quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and normal summon out, special summon out Korribane, since it has to go out first since we control no monsters. Then we're going to go ahead and play our Connector. Connector's going to go ahead and grab Dolphin, and I'm going to speed through this just a little bit since this is very reminiscent of the first combo. So instead of using the Connector, you're going to want to use the Dolphin and your Extender to make the Cerberus. You're going to link off the Cerberus for the Mermaid. Mermaid's effect, you're going to get rid of whatever card we have as our blank, and that's going to get us our copy of Nightmare out of our deck and special summon onto the field. We're going to link the Mermaid and the Nightmare away for our Galatea, and now we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Nightmare, target the Galatea, and we're going to send Harp Horror to the graveyard. We're going to banish it, and this is going to special summon our Symbol Skeleton. So again, very reminiscent of the first combo. I'm just speeding through it a little bit quicker here. So now what we want to do is we want to link off the Skeleton and the Galatea to make our Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardich. Similar to the first combo, we're going to banish the Symbol Skeleton to resurrect our Galatea, and we're going to go ahead and overlay into Dingirsu. Use Dingirsu's effect to attach the Symbol Skeleton to it as material, and now we can go ahead and use Rusty Bardich's effect. We can go ahead and send a copy of Ancient Cloak, and we're going to set a copy of Fogblade to our field. From here, we're going to banish the Ancient Cloak for a copy of Silent Boots, which we can go ahead and special summon since we have a Phantom Knights monster. And now we're going to link off both the Silent Boots and the Dingirsu to get our second copy of Galatea. Now from here, we can go ahead and use Galatea's effect. We can go ahead and shuffle back. We'll just go ahead and shuffle back Nightmare here. Grab our copy of Babel, and we're going to go ahead and activate it. And now what we can go ahead and do is banish our copy of Silent Boots. And instead of going for a second Fogblade, we're actually going to go ahead and get the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. The reason for that is because we can then go ahead and set and activate it, making it a level 4 monster, and now we can overlay our Neo Space Connector with it to go ahead and summon our Time Thief Redoer. So this is essentially the same board we ended on in the first combo, but we have a Time Thief Redoer now instead of that second Fogblade. Now this is really good though, because Time Thief Redoer, when it has a trap as material, if it detaches, which you can do during the opponent's turn, it will Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, or will place one card our opponent controls that's face up on the top of their deck. Not to mention, because we can detach multiple cards at the same time, it has a monster, so it will banish itself and then come back during the end phase. And during the standby phase of our opponent's turn, we get to take the top card of their deck and attach it. So if it's a spell card, we also get to draw a card in addition to all of that. So just so much advantage you can generate with this board. Keep in mind, you're still gonna have 2 other cards in your hand as well. And I think Time Thief Redoer is a little bit better than that second Fogblade. Not to mention, you're still going to have the ability to resurrect your Dingirsu. You're just going to make sure that you use your Time Thief Redoer first before making sure you have the zone open so that you can get your Rusty Bardich plus Dingirsu combo off. Alright guys, so for combo number 3, I'm going to be demonstrating the Boral Sword OTK. Now keep in mind, this is kind of under the assumption that your opponent's not going to disrupt you and they have an empty board, but there are ways that during the combo, you're going to be able to break apart your opponent's board and then probably end up getting to this point anyway. I just want to show you guys the simplest, most just resource efficient way that you can access this combo and just make it as simple as possible. So starting off, this is going to be very similar to our second combo in terms of our starting hand. We have a way to get to 2 monsters in Neo Space Connector. You do need an extender, and then we also have a blank card for our discard cost for a Mermaid. So we're going to go ahead and play our Korribane, and then we're going to go ahead and get Neo Space Connector, which will get us Dolphin. Remember, the Korribane can be anything. It can be like danger, it can be an instant fusion target, anything like that. We're going to go ahead and link both of these off for our copy of Cerberus. Again, this is a point where we could possibly disrupt our opponent by being able to pop a back row or a monster, depending on what we have to get rid of on the field. Then we can go ahead and link off into Mermaid. Mermaid's effect's going to trigger, we're going to get rid of our card in hand, and that's going to allow us to get our copy of Orcust Nightmare. From here, we're going to go ahead and link off the Mermaid and the Nightmare for our copy of Galatea. We're going to go ahead and use the effect of our Orcust Nightmare targeting Galatea, and that's going to allow us to dump a copy of Harp Horror into the graveyard. We can banish that, and that's going to get us our symbol skeleton. So from here, we're basically off to the races, because all we have to do is link the Galatea, the symbol skeleton, and whatever monster we had left on the board for a link 4 being Borrelsword Dragon. And now, since we have symbol skeleton in the graveyard, we can banish it to resurrect our Galatea directly to our field. That's going to allow us to overlay a copy of Dingirsu, and now you can just go to battle phase. Borrelsword's going to attack for 3,000, Dingirsu for 26, totaling 56. Use Borrelsword's effects, switch Dingirsu to defense, attack again for 8,600 damage. Do keep in mind, Dingirsu can also use its effect to either send a card or just take something back and add it as material, and you're protected because of Dingirsu's effect. So very easy way to close out games, and definitely something you're going to want to practice. So guys, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about these combos, and if there's any other combos you think are worth mentioning, I'd really love to hear your thoughts. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.